I'm going to read a quick sentence to you guys here, and then you can tell me what you think this is. This is from the newest Chronicles. They cycle. These two separate selves watched the atrocities the Banshee Queen had committed. They fought each other, unwilling to accept that the pain Sylvanas had caused and thought justified had only enabled an enemy of all creation. What does that line tell you guys? I'm going to give you guys another hint. The light has struck a bargain with the enemy of all. Could we view the specific words chosen in the Chronicles as confirmation of the Void's enemy of all? Since in this one it says an enemy of all creation, the Void says the light has struck a bargain with the enemy of all. Could we potentially view that as confirmation? So in other words, the Void never says who the enemy is. The Void only says that the light has struck a bargain with the enemy of all. But it never actually tells us who this enemy of all may be. So this is the only reason this jumped out at me is the word an enemy of all creation. That it's such a on the nose decision, right? Like why not just say an enemy of creation? Why an enemy of all creation? It struck me as interesting that those would be the words that they would choose there. Dementius used Void and Arcane to destroy Koresh. Void is adjacent to Order and Light is adjacent to Disorder. Foul, why is that? So Spurkicide, I would be careful to look at the exact location of the cosmological forces as they pertain to the positions of the other cosmological forces around them. That map that we saw was merely the Titan's interpretation of the map, right? Or of the cosmos. It wasn't a one-to-one exactly what the cosmos looks like. So in that sense, I would be careful. The light made a bargain with the foul? I don't think so. I think the light struck a bargain with Zuval. So we are told in the Shadowlands that the reason the light attacked Revendreth is because Revendreth took one of the Naru captive, right? But we're never actually told, as far as I remember, why Revendreth captured one of the Naru. Right? Like we're never told anything about that. What if Sire Denathrius suspected that Zuval had struck a bargain with the light? That the light had struck a bargain with Zuval? And at the time, Sire Denathrius was still loyal. Sire Denathrius still believed that Zuval was bad, right? Zuval was a problem. The Nathrazim obviously infiltrating the light, that's what they do. And we know that was the Nathrazim. Sorry, no, it wasn't that it wasn't that they captured an Naru, it was because the Nathrazim infiltrated the light and the light figured out. I remember now. And that's why the light attacked Revendreth. What if the Nathrazim infiltrating the light was because Sire Denathrius had this inkling that this is what was happening, right? And that the light had struck a bargain with Zuval. Then as the light attacked under the orders of Zuval, Sire Denathrius and Revendreth found themselves wholly alone. No one in the Shadowlands would come to help. And this was the moment that he turned to Zuval for help. This is the moment that he turned to Zuval because the rest of the Shadowlands had betrayed him. So that would put the bargain between the light and Zuval in a better, in a lot more light, I would say. Ronan, not so much with Dave, more so with Zuval. right? So death is, as far as we can tell at least, not an entity in and of itself. Death is simply a place ruled by entities. So the entity here that the void would be referring to, if we took all of this evidence and put it together, then Zuval would be the enemy of all, because the light struck a bargain with Zuval, specifically. The Primus could also be a problematic one, because again, we could ask the question here of why did the Primus not go to help when the light attacked? Right? So it could absolutely be that, because again, from the perspective of the Titans who wrote the Chronicles Volume 4, Zuval would be an enemy of all creation, because Zuval wanted to dominate all creation. The Primus, on the other hand, would still be completely under the radar. The Primus would be, no one suspects him currently of anything bad. But this is a theory that I have thrown out before. It is one that I actually fundamentally agree with, and I fundamentally believe that. So my perspective on this is, I don't believe that the Primus is the jailer, right? I don't subscribe to that theory. I believe the Primus is the Primus, the leader of Maldraxxus. But I believe that Zuval clearly saw something. I believe that Zuval, as the Arbiter, considered to be the wisest of all of the Eternal Ones, saw something. He saw a problem within the universe. A problem that he could not solve as the Arbiter, and therefore needed to become something else. I think the fact that Zuval imprisons the Primus, probably indicative to part of the problem. Zuval, if the Primus wasn't his biggest issue, or if the Primus wasn't at least part of the problem, I don't see any reason for him imprisoning the Primus. The only thing I can think of is that Zuval saw the Primus playing with forces that he was not supposed to play with. And Zuval realized that if the Primus is allowed to continue to do this, it may threaten the very galaxy that they had sworn to protect. And from Zuval's perspective, he took very much the same line of thinking as Sargeras, which was the galaxy needs to be brought under a singular mind. Right? That's the only way to save the galaxy, is by bringing it under a singular mind, and from there we can ensure that the bad guys never get into control. That would be at least my reading of the lore as far as that goes, because I don't think I don't think the Primus is the jailer. I don't see why. Doesn't the Crown of Wolves have domination and light magic bound to it? Yeah, but this is again, like I said, I see no problem with the theory that the Primus has, that the Primus is the one that struck the bargain with the light, because the Titans again would be completely wrong, right? In their view of Zuval being the enemy of all creation, because from the Titans' perspective, they don't know what the Primus is up to, but it is possible that Zuval knew, right? And that's why he captured the Primus. I still go back to the lines Zuval spoke as he was dying, almost as if he was like, what the fuck is happening, and none of this is right, etc. The reaction someone would have when waking up. So you think Zuval may have actually been dominated? I mean, truthfully, that is not impossible. Again, not impossible. The whole of Zuval's body is covered in domination magic. So it would be possible that the Primus is the one that dominated Zuval literally from the start. And that the Primus needed us to take out Zuval because Zuval is the biggest obstacle to his plan. Very, very possible. The one thing that I think you would run into is... well, then again, he could have pretended when he was the rune carver. He could pretend a lot of things. So, yeah, you could probably throw that out there. That is a theory that I would accept as a decent one. Control and order the universe. It destabilizes the balance of the cosmos. Zuvul saw this, and the pantheons are abominations to reality. Their order will ultimately destroy the universe. That I do agree with, Ronan. If that is true, the Primus has seen his plan fail twice, once with Arthas and second with Zuvul. Talus, not necessarily. Because you're only judging his plan based on what you think you know of his plan, not based on his actual plan. If his actual plan was to get someone else to remove Zuvul from the canvas, so to speak. Because remember, it was the Eternal Ones that decided to banish Zuvul rather than to destroy him, because he was their brother, and they hoped that their brother could yet be saved. So it could be that the Primus actually wanted Zuvul to die, because Zuvul found out what the Primus was up to. And as a result of that, the Primus needed Zuvul to die. But since the other Eternal Ones didn't want Zuvul to die, the Primus came up with an idea. And the Primus effectively said, what if I can get other people to kill him? What if I could get other people to take him out? And so the Primus sets up this entire thing, acting through Zuvul. He activates the Lich King. The Lich King causes a lot of havoc. The Lich King leads directly to Sylvanas, ripping open the sky. We flood in, and we ultimately kill Zuvul, the very thing that the Primus wanted us to do in the first place. I can absolutely see that as a viable theory. Realize all that had happened to him. Domination rules all over him. That I agree with. Notice that the domination runes burned into the jailer's robot frame too. Ryan, that was very interesting to me. Absolutely. Bro, I hope we bring Zuvul back. No, I don't. We should not bring Zuvul back. He is one of the worst villains Blizzard ever created for a reason. Let's leave Zuvul to the annals of history, please. We could get better. Like, if the Primus suddenly become an actual villain, that would be super good. Because we already know who the Primus is. And I think he could make for a phenomenal fucking villain if Blizzard were to decide to go that way. We've seen him without them. You have to remember that he got all the runes after being banished from being an Arbiter. Shield Games, yes, but what's your point with that? If you say you have to remember he got all those runes after being banished, what's your point? Is your point that the Primus couldn't have given it to him because he got them only after he was banished? Or is your point that he couldn't have been mind controlled by the Primus because he was already banished before he even got the domination runes? What's your point with that line? With the line of thinking there? Nameless, I agree with you. I mean, I said this at the time, right? I said this at the very moment of the Shadowlands happening. This is not natural. Something here is very fucking off. Okay, so Hashil, to that point, I would say you're making one fundamental mistake. You are assuming that Zuvul was banished into the Maw because he was dominated by the Primus. That's not the point we're making. Zuvul found out about what the Primus was up to, and that is why he was banished. Right? Because Zuvul realized that if the Primus is allowed to do the things that he's doing, it would end the universe. It would be the greatest threat to the universe ever. And so Zuvul realized that he needs to put an end to this. That very realization is what led the Eternal Ones to banish Zuvul. In his banishment, this is when the Primus takes control of Zuvul through domination magic. And then, because the Primus wanted Zuvul to be killed, he didn't want him to be banished. But now he's banished, so now the Primus is getting someone else to do his dirty work for him. That is the theory, right? So it's not Zuvul getting banished because he was dominated. It's Zuvul getting dominated after he was banished and not killed. That's the theory that we're running off of. Yeah, I remember you saying that. That's why I got into watching your streams. Nameless, I appreciate that. It makes sense for death to align itself with order. I wouldn't say it makes sense, but it is what happened. You're welcome, Hashiel. How is the Primus the creator of domination magic and fell to Zuval? It was all a ploy. Well, again, we don't know exactly how strong Zuval is. He could have been very powerful. But I can see the theory. I can definitely see that theory. And I can see that theory make a lot of sense. I don't know if I necessarily subscribe to the theory wholesale, but I definitely have room for that theory. But then again, I have room for every theory. I'm happy to follow. I'm happy to have 20 different theories about a single topic. And, that's perfect for me. So, yeah, that is just what it is.